People say you never really know what someone is going through, but I learned that too late, and I still regret it every single day. It began at my old school. Nothing special, just a regular public school where everyone knew everyone, except one boy, Oliver. He sat alone every day, in the cafeteria, in class, even during group activities. Not because he wanted to, but because he was invisible to everyone else. We were kids. We didn't understand loneliness back then. We didn't understand what silence was trying to say. But Oliver, he always smiled. Not the happy kind, the kind that begged someone to ask him if he was okay. No one ever did, not even me. One cold morning, I entered class and saw Oliver sitting in the back corner. His hoodie was pulled over his head, his hands trembling slightly as he wrote something inside a notebook. I didn't think much of it. Why would I? I had my own friends, my own problems, my own world. But something strange happened that day. Our teacher, Mrs. Carter, asked everyone to share something they were grateful for. People said the usual things: family, pets, vacations, friends. Then it was Oliver's turn. He stood up slowly, holding that same notebook. "I'm grateful," he mumbled, "for people who try to be kind." There was a pause. A long, painful pause. Because the truth was, no one was kind to him. That was the first time I really looked at him, really saw him. And for a split second, I saw sadness deeper than anything I had ever seen on someone's face.
Days passed, and then something happened that I can't forget. I stayed late after school for a project. When I was leaving, I walked past the library and saw Oliver inside, alone again. But this time, he wasn't reading. He was crying. Quietly. Head down. Trying not to make a sound. I froze. I wanted to walk away. I didn't want him to see me. I didn't want to make it awkward. But my feet didn't move. When he looked up, his eyes were red. He quickly wiped his face and forced a smile. "Sorry," he said. "I didn't know anyone was here." I nodded awkwardly. I can leave," I said. He shook his head. "No, you don't have to." I didn't know what to say, so I sat down across from him. We didn't talk much. We didn't have to. But before I left, I asked him, "Are you okay?" Oliver hesitated, then whispered, "I will be." At that time, I didn't understand what he meant. The next morning, the school was quieter than usual. Students were gathered in small circles, whispering. Teachers were moving fast. Something was wrong. When I reached my classroom, Mrs. Carter was crying. On her desk was Oliver's notebook. She told us that Oliver didn't come to school today, that he left a note for her, that he had been struggling for a very long time. My heart dropped. She opened the notebook and started reading one line. "I feel like a ghost. I walk through hallways and no one sees me." The whole class went silent. Every cruel joke, every ignored moment, every time he sat alone hit me like a punch to the chest. Because I realized I was one of the people who never saw him.
Later that day, the school counselor found Oliver at a park near his house. He was sitting on a bench, staring at the lake, holding that same notebook. He was safe, but broken. When I heard he was okay, something inside me told me to go see him. I found him sitting alone, watching the water. He looked up when I approached, a small, surprised smile.
You came, he said softly. I sat beside him. I'm sorry, I whispered, for not being there, for not seeing you. He shrugged. It's not your fault. But it felt like it was, because sometimes doing nothing hurts more than doing something wrong. I asked him if he wanted to talk. He shook his head. Then he said the words I still remember. I just want someone to stay, even if we don't talk. So I stayed. For an hour? Maybe 2? We didn't say much, but for the first time, he wasn't invisible anymore. Weeks passed. Oliver returned to school. He wasn't magically cured. He wasn't suddenly cheerful, but he wasn't alone anymore. I sat with him at lunch. We worked on projects together. Sometimes he'd talk, sometimes he wouldn't. And that was okay. One day he handed me his notebook. He said, I want you to read something. On the page it said, sometimes one person noticing you is enough to bring you back. I looked at him. He smiled, genuinely this time. You saved me, he whispered. But the truth is, he saved me too. Because he taught me something I will never forget. Sometimes the quietest people are the ones screaming for help, and the smallest kindness can change someone's entire world.
But the thing about helping someone is that sometimes life tests you to see if you really meant it. Months passed, and Oliver slowly started healing. Not fully, but enough to smile without forcing it. Enough to talk without his voice shaking. Enough to feel like he belonged somewhere. One afternoon after school, he surprised me by asking if I could come to his house. He said he wanted to show me something. His voice was steady, but his hands were trembling. We walked together, talking about nothing and everything. For the first time ever, he wasn't walking behind someone, he was walking next to me. When we reached his house, he hesitated before opening the door. Just don't get weirded out, he whispered. His home was quiet. Too quiet. The lights were off. The living room was clean, but empty. There were no family photos, no decorations, no warmth. Just silence. He led me to his room, and when he opened the door, my heart hurt. His room had almost nothing. A bed, a desk, and a wall completely covered in sticky notes. Hundreds of them, all handwritten, all different colors. I moved closer and started reading. I matter. I'll try again tomorrow. One day at a time. I am not invisible. I deserve kindness. Then I realized something. These were not inspirational quotes. These were reminders to himself. Daily reminders to stay alive. I swallowed hard, trying not to cry. Oliver stood behind me, his voice small. I wrote these on days when I felt like disappearing. I turned to him slowly. He wasn't crying. He wasn't breaking down. He was standing stronger than I had ever seen him.
I wanted you to see this, he whispered, because you're the first person who made these notes feel true. My chest tightened. I didn't know what to say. No one teaches you how to respond when someone tells you you saved their life. So I said the only honest thing I could. I'm proud of you. Oliver smiled, really smiled, and for the first time, the smile reached his eyes. But life isn't a straight line. Healing isn't simple, and the people who seem strong today still have battles tomorrow. A week later, at lunch, Oliver wasn't there.
I checked the library. Not there. The courtyard. Not there. His locker? Empty. A familiar fear clawed at me. I asked the counselor. She said he hadn't come to school. My heart sank. Something told me to run. So I did. I ran out of the school, down the street, through the park, straight to the lake. The same lake where we had talked that first day. And there he was, sitting on the bench, head down, notebook in his hands. I walked up slowly and sat beside him without saying a word. After a minute, he whispered, "Everyone thinks I'm better now. They think I'm fixed." I didn't interrupt. He turned to me, tears forming in his eyes. He turned to me, tears forming in his eyes. He turned to me, tears forming in his eyes. He turned to me, tears forming in his eyes. He turned to me, tears forming in his eyes. But I'm scared. I'm scared that one day there won't be anyone sitting next to me. I put a hand on his shoulder. "Oliver," I said softly, "I'm not here because I pity you. I'm here because you matter, because you're my friend, and I'm not going anywhere." He broke down, quietly, painfully, honestly, and I stayed, not for 1 hour, but for the entire evening. We watched the sun set over the lake. No words, no pressure, just presence. Sometimes that's all a person needs. Years later, Oliver and I are still friends. He isn't the lonely kid anymore. He's himself. And sometimes when life gets heavy, he still sends me a picture of a sticky note. The last one he ever wrote said, "Thank you for noticing me." But what I never told him is this. He taught me more about kindness than anyone else ever has. He showed me that even the smallest act of care can save someone's entire world.